So for 30 years, since the 1950s and 1960s, people believe that, okay, the Phillips curve shows there is a negative relationship between unemployment and inflation. But in 1970s, they found out that, oh, this is not the case. So this is the situation for inflation and employment during 1970s and 2017. So you see that there is no clear relationship now. Okay. He said the expectation augmenting Phillips curve, just like we have mentioned before. Okay. Usually people will form their expectation, and so that's what we say rational expectation. So people form their expectation. So this is their rational reaction, rational expectation. It's their rational reaction to policies, okay, to the changes in economic situations. So there are two people, they say, it could be cyclical unemployment, okay, but, really is not the case, okay. Okay, so let us see what's going on here. Okay, so when these expectations augmented Phillips curve, how does it work? Okay, so the same thing happened when we mentioned about, a few minutes ago on the situation of the economy of money supply. Okay, you said anticipated increase in money supply, and what is going to happen? So increase in money supply, they will shift aggregate demand curve. Okay, and also short run aggregate supply curve will shift up. Okay, means increase, or AD increase. Okay, aggregate demand increase, aggregate supply increase. And in this case, price is going to go up, but why? Production level does not change. And so in this case, inflation rises with no changes in unemployment. Okay, so basically it is like that. So aggregate demand increases, okay, and then you expect price level to increase, and so this is going to decrease aggregate supply, okay? And so in this case, production doesn't change, but you have inflation going up, okay? So anyway, there are many explanations to how the economy works, and this is one of it, okay? And so then he said, if there's an anticipated increase in money supply, so you have to be careful. So here he said unanticipated, okay, unanticipated. So if it is unanticipated, so you did not see it coming, okay, you did not see it coming, and so because of that, you will be able to increase production level, okay, because you did not see, just like the baker, okay, just like the baker that I mentioned, right? So when he is looking at his situation, it sounds like, the price is going up by 8%, okay? But he didn't realize that actually everything is going up by 8%. So if it is the case, he did not anticipate it, then there is a chance that he can increase production level. And if production level increase, then the unemployment rate will go down. Okay, so it is like that. So this is unanticipated situation. Okay, unanticipated inflation. And basically, we're going to forget about this. Okay, this part, it will not be in the test. Okay, this part will not. Next week is the last time for this semester, and I will, tell you exactly what will be in the test. So this part will not be in the test. Okay, shifting Phillips curve. as I told you, right, shifting Phillips curve. If economy is good, any factors that can push the economy to a good situation, then the Phillips curve shift to the left, okay? At every given level, the inflation is lower, unemployment is also lower. But when any factor that can change the economy to a worse situation, then the Phillips curve shift to the right, okay? At any given level, unemployment is higher and inflation is also higher. Okay, just like this. Okay, and then it's soon gonna talk about the long run Phillips curve and the short run. So short run is what we have, okay? Basically negative relationship between inflation and unemployment. Okay, this is, okay, shifting to the right again, so it's not a good situation. Okay, supply shocks. Okay, so basically, when we talk about aggregate supply and aggregate demand, there are some supply shocks there, and the same thing can happen to Phillips curve. And so, is there still a trade-off? As we mentioned, in the long run, it is not. In the short run, there is still one negative relationship between unemployment and inflation. And sometimes he said, the bottom line there, he said the short run Phillips curve will be unstable in periods with many supply shocks. Okay, so basically, if you have supply shocks, of course it will affect aggregate demand, aggregate supply, and then here you will also affect Phillips curve. And so the relationship will not be stable. Okay, so the question here, why did the original Phillips curve relationship apply to many historical cases? Basically, if you look at the situation of various economy, the way it runs, based on a model, aggregate supply, aggregate demand, or in the next semester, we're going to talk about ISLM. So basically, this is how the economy works. So production function, labor market, all these things are related and they work in a similar fashion. So if the market really works, and here it's gonna show up, okay? And of course, Phillips curve is no longer, okay, just negative relationship between inflation and unemployment, okay? It has two other aspects. One is positive slope, and then another one is vertical line. So this is a different approach, okay? So in comparison with the first one, the original one we talked about, here is that if you have expectation what is going to happen to Phillips curve, and then because you have some, extra incentive to change your behavior, so the Phillips curve is more unstable. So from this chart, you cannot see any clear relationship there. Okay, so the question, can the Phillips curve be exploited by policymakers? Meaning that, is there any room you can manipulate, you can use policy to change inflation or to affect unemployment? For classical model, the answer is no, right? Because just let the market work, okay? Whatever policy there, the market gonna react right away. But for Keynesian model, what's the difference? Keynesian model say the market is not perfect, right? So if the market is not perfect, then there's a way you can make the market work more efficiently. And so because of that, you would have a chance to affect unemployment or inflation. So, I'm not going to get into all these debates, but basically, if you believe the market works perfectly, of course, there's no way you can change people's behavior, just through any kind of manipulation, because you have people's expectation and people. So, let me read this to you. He said, the unemployment rate returns its natural level quickly as people's expectations adjust. So basically, that is the reaction of the market. Okay, any factors changing will change their expectation, and they change their behavior as a result. So because of that, there's no way you can change anything. So the last part, he said, people catch on to policy games. They have rational expectations and try to anticipate policy changes. So there's no way to fool people systematically. Okay, the question is, do people really behave that way? The answer is probably no, right? As I told you, who will adjust their behavior much more quickly? It is the boss. Okay, the bosses, the companies, the entrepreneurs. Okay, they change their behavior right away. Okay? So what about employees? Okay, what about us? Usually we don't feel any change. Okay, we don't see the market and all the information is coming to us. So, in my opinion, there's still a way to exploit it. Okay? So policy still works. I'll say, okay, so this is Keynesian model. Okay? Let's move on. So Lucas critiques. Who is Lucas? Lucas is an economist, and he got Nobel laureate. Okay? He is the representative of rational expectation. Okay, so he said, the rules may change. When the rule changes, then people's behavior will change as well. So the old model will not work as it should have been. So because everything changes, and also the relationships will change. So this is what he said. So Lucas applies his idea to macroeconomics, arguing that historical relationship between variables will not hold up. Okay? So that's a reason, another criticism to Phillips curve. Okay? It used to be that there's a negative relationship between inflation and unemployment. But when you look at 1973-74, when there's already oil crisis, energy crisis, then the whole thing changes. So when you look at a new situation, you really need to get a new model, okay, to see, to inspect the economy, okay, the relationship changes. Okay, so because of that, for any of us, when you look at the economy, you have to look at the data, okay, and using the data to see what's going on. And sometimes that's what we call, okay, empirical study. In terms of Mandarin, we call it so always, because economics is a social science, so you have to use data and use this data. And generally, the way we use is, the model that we talk about is called econometrics. And what it is, okay, 计量经济学 econometrics. And I encourage you, if you really want to explore the world in more details, I encourage you to get to a master program. And our department, of course, offers a very good master program if you like it. So many of your former students, they join the master program, and explore the variables like economics, stock indexes, and the way investors behave. Okay, everything. So if you are interested in that, you can join our master program. And so he said, for Lucas critique, the short-run Phillips curve is a good example. It fell apart as soon as policymakers tried to exploit it. Okay, so in 1970s, it changes. 1980s, okay, all because of the oil crisis, energy crisis. So then, because of that, you have to, get a new model, get a new perspective on all these things. Okay, so long run Phillips curve. Finally, we got to this. So in the long run, is a vertical line. Okay, so it means that inflation and unemployment, there's no relationship. But the textbook, does not show you the other aspect. So as I say, there are actually three types of Phillips curve. Okay, the first one, negative relationship, and then the second one, no relationship, and the third one is positive relationship between unemployment and inflation. Okay, so the long run Phillips curve says that changes in the level of money supply have no long run real effects. Okay, why this one is important? Because a long run Phillips curve also shows the neutrality of money, right? At the beginning of today, right, I talked about neutrality of money. So long run Phillips curve shows the neutrality of money. And as I say, so the question is money really neutral? Okay, the answer is no. Okay, in the short run, money supply can affect production level, employment level, etc. Okay, what about in the long run? In the long run, generally, most economists believe in the long run, money is neutral. Okay, that's in the long run. So in the long run, money supply only affects inflation. Okay. So let me read this to you. It said, even though expansionary policy may reduce unemployment only temporarily, policymakers may want to do so if, for example, timing economic booms right before elections helps them. So as I say, for business cycle, right, we have economic factors, okay, but we also have political factors, okay? So let us see if you still remember that. Zheng Yuxian. Okay, if you would like, the stock market to go up, which party would you vote? I remember I talked about this before. Republican or Democrat? If you want stock market to go up, which party would you vote? Republican or Democrat? Okay, the innovation, which one? I believe I mentioned it before. Political factors. If you want to get better stock market performance, which party should you vote? Chen Yijun. There are two, right? Republicans and Democrat. Which one? Luo Zixuan. Smile is good. Julian. No one remember that? I believe I mentioned it before. When we talk about business cycle. Su Yunqi. Okay, Republican. Okay, why? So this is what we call right, and this is what we call left. 右派,左派, okay? Conservative, okay? Liberal, and their icon is elephant, elephant, and their icon is donkey. The color for Republican is red. The color for for Democrat is blue. Okay? So generally they are pro-business. Okay, Republicans are pro-business and Democrats are pro-labor. Okay, so because of the differences, okay, generally, if you vote Republicans, generally the market gonna be better. But for Democrat, usually is worse. But you have to remember this is on average. Okay, on average. It doesn't mean that whenever a Democratic president is in the White House, the market gonna be bad. No, it's not the case. It's on average. Okay? But if you look at Biden and Donald Trump, okay? If you look at Biden and Donald Trump, which one is better? Actually, Biden's market, okay? During Biden's term, the stock market is better than, Donald Trump's. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I forgot what. Okay, here. So, because, and that's what this time we also mentioned about this. Okay, because we are not sure which stages the economy is in. So we don't know the economy is at a peak, recession, at a trough, or recovery. Because of that, it is better that we leave the market alone. Okay, don't use any policy to interfere it. So sometimes that is the reason we say don't do anything, and that's why we say classical school is probably one of the best choice, because you don't know where we are in terms of business cycle. And then, since you don't know anything, and if you use any policy, you may, actually make the economy fluctuate more rather than less. Okay, so this is part of reason. Okay. Okay, so the costs of unemployment. Okay, that's the last few minutes of the first hour we talk about this. So unemployment and inflation, okay, is really, really bad. Okay, and I think this you can look at it as a joke. Okay, so if your neighbor is out of job, okay, if your neighbor is unemployed, it is called recession. And if you yourself are unemployed, there will be depression. So anyway, it's very difficult. So people are going to lose income, okay, and society pays, have to pay extra money out of it for unemployment benefits, okay. So that is really not good, okay. If you have, just like China, right? If you look at China, what happened? A lot of young people don't have jobs, and so they fool around. What they call? They call lie flat, right? Lie flat. And I think it is like maybe 1 month ago, there's some people, driving car in Shenzhen, okay, hitting people, right, killing a lot of people. That's one of it. So if you don't have income, you feel depressed, and you're thinking of doing nonsense, and And yesterday, or I mean 2 days ago, in Germany, right? That's the same thing. They have a Christmas market, but some guys, just drove a car and hit people. So unemployment is really not good. Inflation, that's the same thing. Okay. So here, the cost of unemployment, okay, personal or psychological cost to workers and their families, okay? And if it is severe recession, it's even worse, okay? And so that's the reason the governments, okay, want to make sure that people have jobs. I think in Taiwan, there's one, really good. Some labor centers, okay, they have job training. Okay, they offer job training to get people get to work. Okay, so this is good. In Kaohsiung, everywhere in Taiwan, we have, some sort of job training center that help people to get jobs. Okay. And here is a cost of unemployment may vary across demographic groups. Okay, demographic groups, what does that mean? That means different ages. Okay, demographic. Some for unemployment, young people suffer most. Okay, young people suffer most because they are the one most energetic, and they should be learning some new techniques, new skills. But if they are out of jobs, that's the problem. Every year there are hundreds of thousands of, Chinese college students that get out of the market, but they cannot get a good job. That's bad. But what about Taiwanese? We don't have enough people, right? So that's not good either. Okay. So anyway. Okay. More on costs of employment. So unemployment leads to increased job search, acquiring new skills. This is really a question, okay? But in Taiwan, I think we do have such kind of places that give people training, and then unemployed workers have increased leisure time. That is good, right? Sometimes you can look at the work. Okay, when you graduate, you have another choice, right? So, Li Boyan, what is your plan if you graduate? What would you do?
Maybe go into Web3 industry.
I beg your pardon?
Web3.
Web3?
Web3.
Wall Street?
Web. WEB.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna something like AI, internet, all these things.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, Zheng Yuxian, what's your plan? Your plan? Get a good husband. Anyway. A-YDY, what is your plan? No idea. Wang Ruyi, what's your plan? Excuse me? Yes, you should think about it. Okay, I am going to offer you. So, US, Australia, Japan, Great Britain, all these countries offer work-study program. Okay, all these countries offer work-study program. So, let me give you an example on Australia. This is several years ago Whether it applies now, I don't know, but you need to check it. So if you go to Australia, like 5 years ago, what you get? You get, but you have to be careful because Australian dollar, okay, Australian dollar is going down, okay, it's not as high as before. So usually you can get NT dollar 60,000 a month, okay, sounds like good, but your living cost is $30,000. But is it good? Yes, because you can save $30,000, right? Okay. For Great Britain and US, I think it is similar. Now, there used to be a program in, I think it is Discovery. Okay, they show a program, and there are 3 Taiwanese. Okay, 3 Taiwanese working in Alaska. Okay, working in Alaska. And of course they got, good pay and enjoy the scenery, right? And then a lot of experiences and also some new skills. And of course, to go there, you need to have good English skills. So I really encourage you, because oftentimes, if you stay in Taiwan, we often call them the bosses, right? 惯老板. What does that say in English? Abuse. They abuse workers, right? Force you to work more without giving you extra pay or overtime pay. And if you have a chance to go overseas to look around, right, and also get some new skills and also practice your English, that would be a good way, okay? So Li Boyan, will you do that? You have a chance. The chance at your hand, okay? Okay, let's move on. So the long-term behavior, right? So if you look at Taiwan, okay, you look at Taiwan. So the unemployment rate is actually quite stable, okay? It's actually quite stable. But now what we have experienced is shortage of labor, okay? Shortage of labor. But how to deal with that? It is very difficult. I have written several articles on newspapers and say we need to have more immigrants. Okay, we need to have more immigrants. But the government is just hesitant. Okay, they should do it right away and aggressively. Okay, aggressively. But it's not the case. Another country that experienced the same situation is Japan. Okay. Japan also has a very severe shortage of labor, and that will, have a big impact on the economy. Okay, let's move on. So here, the note here, the changing natural rate of unemployment. So actually, our natural rate of unemployment is going down just because, there's a shortage of labor, and basically, the economy is still quite strong and needs a lot of people. Okay. So this is the changes of the natural rate of unemployment of the United States. So basically it's kind of stable, okay, but the same situation is going down. The same thing, right? Because there are so many immigrants going to the United States. So that's because of that. Okay, it still has a strong labor market. But if you look at farming sector, if we look at the agriculture, there's a shortage of labor. But if you look at the tech sector, okay, if you look at the tech sector, that's the same thing. When TSMC go to Arizona to build factories, what do they need? They need workers, okay? But, Donald Trump, he said, I'm going to get rid of the immigrants, okay? That's really nonsense. It's going to have a very big impact on, if he really done that, U.S. economy will be in trouble, okay? So we're gonna see that in 30 days, really right away. Yes, 30 days. Okay, I think I want to skip all these things because it is just too tedious. But let me read this to you. Okay, say there are three authors. Okay, Steiger, Stark, and Watson found that the natural rate cannot be measured precisely with econometric methods, as the confidence interval is very large. This shows you that econometric model cannot solve anything, and it means that because of that, you would have a good chance, okay, to learn econometric model and improve the previous study. Okay, so that's the reason I say, if you got a chance, it's really nice to have yourself get into a master program because they can help you understand more about how the relationship between various variables work. Okay, I think I would forget about this because it is just too tedious. It's not that really matter to our class. Okay, let's move on. Okay, cost of inflation. Okay, cost of inflation. So if it is perfectly anticipated, okay, if it is perfectly anticipated, there will be no cost. As we say, that's how rational expectation works, okay? If you expected it, anticipated it, you already done everything you can to adjust to the prices, and so there will be no impact, okay? And so even returns on asset may rise exactly with inflation. Suppose you expected it. Okay, now here is what I mentioned. Shoe leather costs. Okay, shoe leather costs. Because if there's inflation, people will spend resources to find out, okay, a better price, a better deal. But if you expected it, then it's basically nothing. Okay, menu costs, the same thing, right? I told you about, a dumpling shop, okay? If you did not expect it, then you have to print out a new menu, okay, every time the price changes. But supposedly, you expected it, then you don't have to do that several times. You just do it one time, okay? But of course, at this moment, it's not quite an issue. Why? Because, okay, Hong Zi, how would you order at McDonald's now? Sorry, you never go to McDonald's? No, really? So fast food is junk food, right? So you don't like it. Anyway, so 公司云, have you been to McDonald's? How do you order now? Excuse me? No. I mean, how do you order? So let us say if if I go to a cafeteria at our campus, okay, I will order this, order that, right? And then basically, or set a noodle stand, right? A noodle stand, okay, then there is price there, okay. But if you go to McDonald's, how do you order? You go to a screen, right? So the menu cost is gone. Because you can change the menu right away. You can change the price right away, okay? That's what I mean. This is what I want to say. Okay? Let me repeat this again. So we said menu cost, right? If you want to order something, usually you go to a restaurant, they give you a menu. So this is the dish. So this is beef, $100, pork, $80, fish, $120, etc., right? Okay? So if the price changes, you have to get a new menu. Okay? But now you don't have to because you have a screen. You can change the price right away. Okay? So you got it? So anyway, technology changes also changes the cost of the inflation. Okay. So this is a formula about the cost of inflation, and let us say now there is some anticipated inflation. And so this part will actually affect your behavior. But it is a little bit, honestly, I don't want to have any question on this. But you just look at that, say here, okay? So where is, okay, here. So let us say I is equal to 6% and expected inflation 4%. So the expected R, okay, the real interest rate, okay, the real interest rate is 2%. So if there's a discrepancy, if there's a difference, then it will have an impact, okay, on your behavior and the economy. Okay, he said, if your true inflation is 6%, then your real interest rate becomes 0. And if the real inflation is 2%, then the actual real interest rate will be 4%. So here you can see your expectation when it is different from the real inflation, there will be an impact. Okay, so from here you get nothing. From here you actually get benefit. So then it really depends on which situation you have realized. Okay. Okay, so now get to our example on the blackboard. So result, transfer of wealth. Okay, so if you expect the inflation, okay, then you will be better off. So then if you are the borrowers, okay, if you are the borrowers, you got benefit out of it. Okay, as I say, if you are the borrowers, because of inflation, now you don't have to work as hard, okay? With less output, okay, with less output can get you more revenue. And so because of that, you get benefits out of it. But for lenders, okay, it is the opposite, okay, it is the opposite. So because of that, a lot of people, they spend resources to forecast inflation, okay? Of course, we don't do that. But a lot of financial institutions, insurance companies, they all do that, and they also have strategy to deal with it. Okay, so let us say you buy bonds. Okay, suppose you buy bonds. There are several kinds of bonds. In the U.S., there is a bond called inflation indexed. Generally, when there's inflation, if you want to buy bonds, you need to buy this kind of bonds, because this kind of bond will give you extra compensation for inflation. Okay? Okay, let us see. The other one is index contract. Okay? What means index contract? So usually, so let us say my contract with the school is each month how much I get paid, right? But suppose you are in an area that with very high inflation. You will say, okay, the money you get paid will increase with inflation. So let us say this year you have 3% inflation, then the next year you're going to increase your salary by 3% to compensate the loss on inflation. Here, there is a very interesting term called COLA. Okay, what is COLA? Cost of living adjustment. That's exactly what I said. Usually, which kind of contract has this? It is pension fund. Okay, pension. Okay, pension. So what is pension? Lin Zhenkai, what is pension? Sorry. Su Yunqi, what is pension? pension. You found it? Right. Why? Because those who are on pension, they are old people, right? They don't have any ability to deal with it. So because of that, usually pension fund is indexed to inflation so that they can enjoy the same kind of living standard, okay, when there's inflation. So another way is to deal with that. Sorry, the time is up, so we're gonna get to this next week. Thank you. 那个一般来讲如果你们光投资